Let's get 5 seconds of quiet.
Okay.
Hello and welcome back to Deep Impact for one final time. We are here to talk more about Pact as a whole, dive into everything. We're going to be talking about our thoughts about the entire show. We're going to be talking about miscellaneous questions that we get from chat.
Yep.
And we're just going to talk about Pact for, 40 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah, a bit less than we anticipated.
We're running a little bit behind schedule already because of too many donations.
Yeah, our audience is more generous than we anticipated.
Yes.
So yeah, those of you who are watching live now, start hitting us up with questions, I guess.
Yep.
The chat is more busy than I expected, so we'll do our best to keep up. But let us know. What do you want us to talk about? We've basically got half an hour of just looking back on the show and the story.
I think let's dive into the first thing, which is at the end of Pact, you click that link that says next. That link that normally takes you to the next chapter.
Yep.
Sorry, the forsworn drink I drank is starting to hit me. You click that link that takes you to the next chapter, and it takes you to, from the epilogue, it takes you to this Word of God kind of retrospective that Wildbow wrote on Pact.
An afterword.
Called Pact Sealed, which is a great name. Love it. Love some good puns. I think we should talk about the vibe that we get from Wildbow during that.
Yeah, I mean, reading that now
it's
made me a lot more interested to talk to him in a few hours.
Yes, so we're doing an interview with Wildbow in 12 hours, something, I don't know.
A bit over that, yeah. Just sort of because... And I mean, there were a lot of comments. I think Wildbow often had the top comment under a bunch of chapters as we were reading through.
Yeah, especially towards the second half.
Yeah, and there was a lot of other stuff going on in real life that seemed to be impacting, I guess, his ability to write as much as he would have liked.
Yeah.
I mean, the afterword was kind of negative. I guess.
No, it is. The response, the reaction that Wildbow seems to have of the story is that he feels like he let people down by too many things happening in his real life that distracted. And just kind of the story as being something that is kind of bleak for a lot of it, really kind of feeling kind of overwhelming in that perspective.
I do, I think that's the thing. I think, some people have said, Pact is the most uplifting Wildbow work in a way. And again, neither of us has finished Twig.
Yeah, true.
But, you can see there's that dissonance, I think, between people who finish Pact and people who don't. Because the ending to Pact is so rewarding because the story grinds you down and then finishes in a, it was all worth it way.
Yeah.
And you can see why people who make it 3/4 of the way through and drop out, why they would just be left with this sense of, this is a story that just constantly beats you down.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, if people drop out, they don't get that relief at the end of the story.
There's a huge catharsis for the last 5 chapters of the book, and you would be missing that if you drop out early. So I get why people who dropped out halfway just see it as a story that's quite negative.
Yeah.
I think there were always signs. I know, maybe it was because I've read Worm and I was mostly up to date in Ward for all of it, but I was like, I don't think Wildbow's the sort of author who's going to end this story on, yep, it's all shit. Yeah,
and then you're all fucked forever.
Yeah. So I was definitely working through it with this hope that things were going to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it did. And but I can see why that dissonance exists. But definitely, I think the afterword is probably something we'll start to touch on a lot in that interview with Wildbow, just because it'd be interesting to see what
how his
changes
thoughts
might
have
happened in
changed.
5
Yeah,
years,
totally.
Or what hasn't, and just sort of talk about a lot of that stuff, because it was definitely interesting to read the afterword after reading the epilogue.
Yeah.
And what I thought was a great ending, and Wildbow just sort of going, well, this has been a learning experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing that's in there, is he reflects on it as a learning experience of learning the kinds of things that he likes writing about, doesn't like writing about, is good at writing about, is bad at writing about, that kind of stuff. And it's interesting how little that came through in our podcast diving through it.
Yeah.
We never thought, there was never a comment, I don't think, that I can remember. I mean, there are a few where we were like, oh, maybe it could have gone this way instead of that way, but we never really thought, oh, this feels like Wildbow is exploring something new and it didn't quite work out, for example.
Yeah, I think there was maybe the one bit, and like in the afterword, it was briefly mentioned, one segment of the story dragged on longer than I intended.
Yeah.
And I think that was
presumably the Toronto arc,
yeah. And I do think maybe looking at Pact structurally, there's maybe wider sweeping changes I would make to a published version than Worm or something.
And that's what Wildbow says in the thing as well.
But those are you know, I guess it's a symptom of serial writing, I would say, more than a real critique. Like, they definitely didn't bother as much as we were going through the story. So
yeah, and looking at it at a holistic level, like thinking about the story beats that we hit in Toronto, I'm thinking like, you know, it starts out with a conquest contest, and that kind of goes, that actually like twists about 2 or 3 times in what it is. And I can see how that potentially would feel like it was dragging on, but it felt like that was the plan from the get-go. Maybe that's not what the plan was.
I can maybe just see how it took up a larger chunk of the story. Like, Arc 8 did a lot of heavy lifting of reintroducing us to Jacob's Bell, because we've been gone for so long. And that was part of the reason I suspected maybe Toronto went longer than was expected. But I can also see why it did. I think the amount of stuff that started to be addressed in Toronto was maybe more than well, but it was like one of those things where you just start writing, and as you find more stuff to play with.
I mean, there's more to do. That's the thing about Toronto is really, I mean, when we compare it to Jacob's Bell, we've got characters like Laird, we've got characters like Alistair, we've got the Deschamps, we've got all these really interesting characters. But in Toronto, they felt more like exotic almost. Like this vibe of, oh, we've got Diana, she's the astrologer, we've got the Sisters of the Torch.
Toronto was, I think, in part, our sneak peek at how much bigger this world is.
Yes, exactly.
Like, Jacob's Well is a small town, and that was emphasised to us by how much bigger and varied everyone in Toronto was, but that also made them too interesting.
The practitioners in Jacob's Bell felt more like traditional practitioners, you know? Like, they're enchantresses, they're chronomancers, they're people who are working with the fundamental systems. Whereas in Toronto, you've got like Jeremy, who's like a god of being drunk, and like all these weird characters that really specialize in a really out there thing. And it felt so interesting to see more of these really weird styles of, or like the Shepherd, who is such a weird character that never really gets dived into that much. You get enough to be like interested, but not enough to really understand.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly, I think Toronto is one of my favourite parts of the story, which is insane to say because all of the parts are my favourite. I really love Arc 13 where Blake is going around killing all the Deschamps husbands.
I think Arc 15 will have to be my winner. Just the set pieces of the library.
Oh, the library.
And the possession.
Like
getting the 2-for-1 in that
and
arc.
Barbatorm getting possessed, going into Johannes is so awesome. And Blake kind of cutting out his eyes.
In terms of a bang for your buck, I think you can't go past Arc 15.
Can we talk about... This is maybe a bit of a stupid comment, but also I've had the Forsworn drink, so that's fine.
Sure.
Pact as a story just has so many, like the word that springs to my mind is epic, but the way it was used like 5 years ago, you know? Like epic, like boss, elite moments, you know?
Yeah. No, totally. There were... I mean, this was a story that had woven into the world a way to make story tropes real and use that.
God, it's so good, isn't it? Should we dive into a few questions?
Yes.
So the first question we got here, and I'm going back through chat a bit, so I'm sorry if it seems like we missed your question. We'll try and get to it. If we missed it, just post it again. That's fine. The first question we got is from Isha Moradin, who asks, and this is a fun one: what's your goblin name? If you were a goblin, what would your name be?
It's definitely like
this was revealing some home truths. I think.
Yeah, because we're doing that poke segment later. Now that we hit that goal, and like that revealed some interesting stuff about how goblin naming. I think that we'll dive into.
Yeah, true.
But to get it's not really something you get to decide for yourself.
Oh,
so maybe we should name each other.
We should name it. Oh, this is weird. I feel like this is going to get a bit insulting.
This could go very bad. I regret saying this.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what negative trait I would pick to exemplify as a name.
Too many?
Yeah, there's way too many. No, I mean, we should touch on this, right? Like, we've been friends for 5 years.
Yeah, 5-ish years. Yeah.
And it's good. I'm really glad that I got you as a podcast host.
I know.
It's like,
I'm glad you talked me into starting Media MD.
Was that my fault?
Yes, absolutely.
Idea. You think about it. I don't know. I feel like all of the things I'm coming up with are like fairly generic, like cum guzzler, which isn't like a specific trait.
So maybe we should just go back to not that you know of.
Sure.
Maybe we should go back to just coming up with ones for ourselves. I'm just trying to think of the most disgusting thing. Unfortunately, I read Poke in like the last 2 days, all the most disgusting images I can think of just relate to whales and what you can do to whales.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything gross that hasn't been touched on in a goblin name.
I'm going to say Beast Sucker. How about that?
That's not bad.
Beast sucker.
I like beast.
It doesn't feel vulgar enough for
Beast isn't
beast
bad
liquor.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Beast liquor. How about that?
Yeah.
And that, of course, is based on what I know of it. No, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Just on the record, legitimately, that was a joke.
Phlegm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Taking a shot at my audio quality. I like it.
Shoveler. I didn't think of that. I was trying to remember, what's the name? No, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to ask that question.
Yeah.
We might come back to that if I can remember the name of this stuff.
Maybe we'll talk more about goblin names in a bit. The next question we got was from... it was from... Buddha.
I found it.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So something like Smegma liquor or something would be a good one. I'm really glad we went ahead and found that how to flag things as not safe for work on Twitch.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we flagged our Twitch stream as NSFW. We got a donation from Drunk Peter. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
$50 donation saying, do a fan art of the MVP of Pact to the defenestration boogeyman. We'll get to our fan art pile soon, I think, maybe after this segment. We've got 4 fan arts to do. Yeah, look, our schedule's getting pretty packed. That's spelt PACT.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
I'm sure they got it.
Yeah, cool. Just spelling it out.
Yeah. I don't think we quite anticipated.
That was from
Aquabuddha. Yeah. I don't know that we anticipated how much
quite an active chat.
Yeah, and how much we'd have to do these things. We forgot to fit them into the timeline. That's how bad.
Yeah. Whoops.
We're going to try and fit them in when we can.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Next question from Buddha as well. Wait, sorry, was that from Aquabuddha? No, that was from Drunk Peter. Fan art request. Sorry, I got my names mixed up. Aquabuddha says, Aquabuddha loves you is the correct name here. Sorry. Asks, who is your favorite character that is not Green Eyes, Blake, or Evan? I mean, I'm going to say Peter, but I feel like he's high tier enough that he should be ruled out as well.
Yeah.
And without Peter, I think it's Jeremy. I absolutely love the idea
Jeremy's
of Jeremy. The idea of a guy who put so much into making this bid for power and fucked it up. And because he fucked it up, he impacted Sandra, right? Who obviously kind of was in on his bid as well. And it just led to this weird situation of this kind of broken man as we met him at the start. But then afterwards, he goes on this journey of trying to redeem himself by saying, no, you know what, I'm down and out, but I'm going to take a stand against the Duchamps who have a fucked up system. I'm going to take a stand against Barbatorum, and I'm going to try and work towards this goal of this inspiring young upstart Blake trying to back like this cool shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a good arc.
Making that stand alongside Blake really helped push things along.
Yeah, exactly. Donating the main ads to help kill some Duchamp husbands. Like when you think about it from his perspective, like, can you imagine sending some hitmen after your ex-wife / separated wife's sister? Like,
hey, well, they were still technically together at the end of the story, I'm pretty sure. I've still got my fingers crossed because, I think my answer to that question would be Sandra.
Yeah.
Just because what I loved about Sandra, particularly as a character, is how much I still loved her, even though I think I shouldn't. Yeah. Like, she was so emblematic of everything that was
exactly wrong. What's wrong with the system, but she's such a good-hearted person.
I still found myself like it. And I think that dissonance between me really not wanting... And, like, Miss Lewis had the same kind of vibe, but I think...
But you find out more... Like, by the end of the story, I'm against Miss Lewis, where I'm never really against Sandra, even in Arc 13.
Sandra was something who, throughout the entire story, I kept trying to make myself hate, and I couldn't, and I love that sort of character.
Yeah.
So, like, I think my answer to that would be Sandra.
Yeah, fair enough. We got a question by Thoki who says, didn't I read somewhere that Wildbow would be answering questions on here or something? How is that going to work? Yes, we have Wildbow coming on for an interview. If you want to go to bit.ly/APU details, that stands for All Pact Up Details, APU Details, you can see the full schedule in your local time zone. Wildbow's segment on there is called Word of God, Feat Wildbow. We'll be asking him questions, talking about all this cool stuff with him, diving into his process, how he feels about Pact 5 years later, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the link to the schedule is in below the stream as well, if you're on the Twitch website, in the All Pact Up description. So you can find it there. It should tell you when it's happening in your time zone.
Yes. Reading through Twitch, sorry, we're a bit behind on chat, so I'm just trying to catch up. Here's a question from Smemen. Interesting. Quick question, Elliot. Would you have made it through the entirety of Pact if it wasn't for us doing this podcast?
Yeah, I think I would have. I think I would have made it through a lot quicker and missed a lot more. But I think this is the sort of story... I think we talked about this when we first started. I'm a bit of a sucker for modern supernatural stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we used to really get into Supernatural, the TV show, which is like Pact but worse. I think we can say it's like Pact but worse.
So I think part of the reason we went for this podcast is because Ruben knew that I'd probably like this, and based on the brief description, I knew I'd probably get into it. I'm very glad we did it this way, because I got so much more out of it doing it this way. But I would have definitely finished it very quickly if we hadn't. Yeah,
this is something that I know Scott and Matt have talked about as well, which is this vibe of Matt specifically, talking about how different it is reading through Worm as a person who is like just binging it and you finish it in 4 weeks or something, as compared to doing it chapter by chapter during the kind of following the publication schedule. I mean, not really, but for We've Got Worm, but more or less. It's so different, the idea of actually now I can pay attention to the themes of the story.
I do. There is part of me that wished we had done like maybe bigger chunk. I don't know. I definitely felt a lot in Deep Impact. I was sometimes losing the forest for the trees as we were going through.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's what's been fun about like We've Got Ward is the way they're following it, but they've got the whole community with them. And I think that helps, and also Scott and Matt are just really brilliant.
Well, the thing I like about We've Got Ward is I read the chapter first on my own in my normal like binge through it style, and then I listen to We've Got Ward, or I read the Discord chat,
so much more
and it's like, oh shit, oh yeah, that is actually like hinting at this thing that I completely like ignored.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious now. I'm trying to think of what's the biggest thing that I felt like I missed going through it. I need to think about that a bit more.
I mean, I do remember that we had a discussion question about what Mags and Molly would be like if Molly was Mags' familiar.
Yes.
Because you forgot that didn't happen.
I didn't forget. I knew it. I thought it'd be an interesting question to stimulate.
No, I do. But didn't you say, like, when you first hit it, you're like, oh, I don't remember that. Oh, wait, yes, of course. Like, there was a moment where you're like,
you're right. I had this moment of like, wait, Molly's becoming Mags' familiar? And then I read ahead a few chapters and I was like, oh wait, that never ended up happening.
I remember going through so much of that when I listened to We've Got Worm after binging Worm the first time. Like, just hearing bits of me, I totally forgot.
See, the thing that gets me in Worm is how many people, myself included, are 100% ride or die Taylor until they read it. Even when, and I'm ashamed of myself for not noticing this or like caring about it the first time. Even when she shoots a baby, and I'm like, yeah, Taylor, you made the right decision.
I completely agree. Like, I was just riding Taylor's wild ride for most of Worm, and then then listening to We've Got Worm, you're just saying, whoa, boy.
Now, DDev has said that you have to drink the Forsworn drink, but it's only water. So I'm going to enforce a little bit of a house rule that I'm going to add something else to it.
Yeah, well, why don't you add something for me then?
Yeah, so for those of you listening along at home in the podcast, just skip ahead 30 seconds while I fill this up with alcohol.
Let me continue to try and catch up on the chat. So lean right over here and fail to operate a Mac.
You got it, Elliot. I believe in you. This is...
Arc 13 is great.
I've got for you here what I think is one of my favourite cocktails. It's a classic cocktail, one that I usually get when I go to a bar. It's called a G&W, a gin and water. So please enjoy that.
Yeah.
Thank you, DDev, for that one. So continuing through chat. Well, I wanted to touch on does that not sit?
No, it's good actually.
Oh yeah, okay. It's just gin but watered down.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess. Did you finish it off or just have some?
No, I had about.
Yeah, cool. We'll add more junk to it later when people donate $10. So this isn't a question, but I think it's something that's really interesting for us to talk about, which was a comment in the Twitch by a user called Judy, who says that, and this is something that we were kind of curious about. There's somebody who has only read Pact. They haven't read Worm or Ward, and so they found Pact. They found us through Pact and not through any of the other Dilf Media shows, which I think is always something that we were curious about if they actually existed.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting, and I think it's interesting to think about how does Pact work in isolation of Worm or Ward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would.
I mean, it's obviously a standalone story, so it's completely by itself. But the thing that's interesting to me about Pact is it does feel like, I mean, Worm at its core, and this is going to be a bit of Worm spoilers, so if you haven't read Worm, I'm impressed. And Judy, actually no, I want to avoid Worm spoilers, so I'll talk thematically then. Themes of Worm include things like things getting worse and somebody trying to do good, but even if they're trying to do good, situations conspire that mean they can never really do good without things just getting worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
And that is reflected in Pact, but in Pact, we get this beautiful ending of Blake's sacrifices and all the effort he's put in is achieving a goal. And so to me, it does feel like Pact is in some ways a response to Worm of, actually things can work out.
I think Wildbow explicitly mentioned...
Sorry, a clarification here from Drunk Peter that says, Taylor... Oh, and this is also Worm spoilers. Sorry, Judy, this is also a bit of Worm spoilers. Drunk Peter says it was a toddler, not a baby. We'll get to some of these other ones in a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry, Judy. I know, I've just realised that we spoiled some stuff in Worm for you.
I think it's interesting because something Wildbow explicitly said, talking off what you were just going on, Wildbow's mentioned that a lot of his protagonists are often responses to the previous protagonists.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Ward works.
It feels so on point for Pact.
Yeah. And I think that's why Ward works so well as the fourth one, because I think Victoria... I haven't read Tweak, but I assume Victoria works as a response to Sai and to Taylor. She definitely works as a response to Taylor.
Yes.
But I also love Blake as a response to Taylor.
I've read the first half of Twig or so.
Yeah.
Sai is a character who's very analytical and defined by he's very good at calculating how he should respond to people
and working with people. See how someone like that fit, if it's a sine wave.
Yes.
Someone and Blake and Victoria are the peaks. I can see Sai
and Victoria is someone who really wants to connect with people, but from an emotional perspective, not from a manipulative perspective.
Yeah.
Which I think is such an interesting counterpoint to Sai.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I actually do think Pact is an interesting counterpoint to Worm's, not necessarily pessimism, but kind of darkness. And darkness, but in a way that, I
mean, Pact has plenty of its own darkness. That's part of what
makes the message it does.
So effective.
Yeah. Here's a question from Hero of Old Iron. The question is, what the fuck is with Poke? And the answer to that is, stay tuned.
We're going to be doing a whole segment on it, but I have a lot of very, very strong opinions on Poke. Most of them good, but it's...
Oh man, we're so behind on chat. Yeah, we're so behind on chat. We've just got a question from Kipos that says, why is Elliot sucking beasts? And the answer is you have to ask Elliot. Elliot, why are you sucking
That's
beasts?
That's my goblin name.
That's your goblin name. Oh yeah, licking beast. Sorry, beast licker.
Same diff.
Okay. We've got 4 chapters of Poke now. That's not really a question, just a statement.
Yes.
I'm just kind of
But we did account for that. We were working on our Poke notes as the 4th chapter got published. Which was very fun.
So Corona has asked us a question. Corona Gem has said, what would be your most and least favourite Pact characters to be in the room for the rest of the live stream? So not just from a story perspective, but who would we want around us?
Yeah, well, I mean
Evan,
a demon...
Evan is obviously...
Yeah. I was starting on the negative side.
Okay, let's start negative.
Obviously a demon would not be great.
Yeah.
Orneus, probably not someone we want around.
No, let's rule out demons. Is there any...
You can always say that 5 more times on the stream.
Yeah, sure, sorry. Do we say that name?
No, I don't think we have.
Okay, let's be careful how many times we say that, because I think if we say that name 7 times, we'll have to drink from the Forsworn.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's 1.
Keep us to task on that if you can, chat. I don't know.
So least favourite in the room. It seems too easy to say Goblin. Honestly, as much as I love him in the story, I don't think I want to hang out with Peter.
Yeah, I agree. He would be a bit annoying to be on stream with.
Maybe Roxanne, just because she might stab me, or Eva.
I feel like I would want a Paige or a Molly in the room, because I feel like they would be really good at, or a Rose, really good at helping manage chat, and from a production standpoint, they'd be a good producer for the show. So Paige, I think, is my most.
You know what? I'm just going to put it out there. I liked the cut of Isadora's jib.
Oh yeah, she'd be good.
I could,
and she'd keep us to task for not lying as well with the Forsworn drink.
Yeah, and I think I just have to make sure I didn't ask her any questions.
Yeah. But overall, she didn't ask us questions.
So they didn't answer her questions. Yeah.
And I think the least favourite is, you guys can't see this, but we're actually streaming. There's a window right in front of us. So Defenestration Man would probably be a bad pick, because he'd appear in the background. He'd come up to us and throw us out the window, and you guys would be like, "Watch out, watch out!" But we wouldn't notice.
I mean, luckily we're on the 1st floor, so hopefully it wouldn't be quite as deadly. But
yeah,
it would
true.
Be
it's a ground floor. Yeah, it would really disrupt the stream, and that's the problem. We got a question from Thoki, who says, "Do you think Pact encourages any specific way of changing the system, or does it just give pros and cons of many?"
I definitely think at its core, it's about saying that you have to try and you have to believe that you can.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah,
part.
it's the effort that you go through to kind of try and do it. Right?
Whether it's to something specific, I think you kind of lose those specifics in the metaphors. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where Jay ended up in terms of getting through Pact. We'll probably start to talk about some of this in our segment with Jay.
Well, we do have we're chatting with Jay in like
no
12 or 13 hours. I don't know.
There's no
long into the future.
But yeah, like I don't know how much I want to hold on to specifics when talking about a metaphor like this, but I'd say the core message I took from it was just you've got to try and you've got to think that it's possible, because if you give up on that, then you've already lost.
Yeah. Let's round out this segment and then we'll get back to... So we have...
Oh, gosh.
Guys, you're really ruining us here. So we've got some interesting donations. Funderfulness donated $20, and we'll get to the Innominousness box in a second. Hero of Old Eye and Hero of Loving the Blake one gave us a $2 donation and said, Orneus.
Kirkistan also gave us a $2 donation and said, Orneus.
And so Funderfulness, again, just donated and said, Orneus.
Orneus, okay.
So we're now at 4 Orneuses.
No, you said it.
Is that 6?
Okay, yeah, that's 6.
That's
okay.
6. Oh, fuck.
We're out.
We're really in trouble now. So nobody else do that funny joke that just happened. Funderfulness, we'll get back to your Innominousness box in a second. Let's run through some of these questions a bit quicker, because we're going to run out of time. Yeah. Synth said, do you think Blake's killing spree and breaking of the Duchamp family might actually have helped Sandra and Jeremy's relationship in the long run? Now, I'm going to start with this, because I think there's two things that of Pact are more important to me than anything else, and I'm really disappointed we didn't get any note on them in the epilogue. One is Peter and Ainsley's relationship, and one is Jeremy and Sandra's relationship.
Okay, first of all, I think Peter and Ainsley's was addressed in 1613 when Rose and Paige
they sent off
did have that moment
together,
where they're like, that's not going to work out.
Yes, but I still have hope. Okay. I
think it'd be a fun ride. Yeah, I do agree. Jeremy and Sandra are people I would love to see show up in Poke or something.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, that's a $2 donation. Yeah. I don't know if we want to read.
Yeah, sorry. So, Aquabuddha has given us a $2 donation, and unfortunately, that donation says Ornaios.
Yes.
Which is not anything, so that's fine. We actually just got another donation from Smemen, who says, gets face smashed in by Mags.
Nice.
Thank you, guys.
That's a good reference.
We're still safe.
That was the end of 1612, I think.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
I think it's interesting looking at what Blake did to the Duchamp family with the whole thing behind us, because... did it help? Was it a good thing?
Yeah.
I feel like when Blake thinks on it later, and we know how Blake is with thinking on things later, he managed to do it one time.
Yeah.
And he did think, I don't recognize myself there. So I'd like to think it wasn't the right way to go about things, but it...
Yeah.
I mean, did it help? I think you'd have to argue it kind of did.
Yeah.
We're getting into very Cauldron-esque...
Yeah, exactly. We're getting into the morality argument here. And I think we got some comments in chat that are saying, why but? We're being unfair to Taylor here, talking about the toddler stuff. But it's the same thing of what... And I think I don't think there's an answer put forward by Wabo in either of these stories, in Worm or Pact.
Well, that's what I like about these long-form stories, is it isn't usually as simple as yes. Yeah. There are things where I think you can imply from the story what Wabo tends to think.
Yeah.
But it's more an exploration of themes rather than a statement on a theme in these long stories. And that's why I really like them, is because it's arguments within the world about what is this saying. And I think Arc 13 was basically, hey, is the violent revolution helpful? So
someone's just called out a really good comparison between Sylvester and Blake, which is Sylvester is a planner while Blake is a planner, which was Ishimoridan. So that was honestly hilarious. So congratulations. I think this is Scott who is asking, Elliot, why did you totally copy his look but make it better? This is just for the people on stream. This is useless for people on the podcast.
Genetics. I didn't fully choose this. The hairline started receding on its own, and the first time I shaved and didn't have a beard, I looked awful, so I grew the beard. Yep. I'm looking for more questions. We're almost caught up to chat. People are asking us to spoil the rest of Worm, but let's kind of keep it light. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
People are talking about how the O word has almost been said too many times. And I think we're caught up.
I hope no one donates it, because I'd much rather it be one of us stuffs up.
Yeah, exactly. Let us fuck it up, because I'm sure we're going to say that name one more time.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of us will stuff up.
I mean, we're going to run out of time. I guess, do we have any other final thoughts about Pact? This is the last episode that's going to appear on Deep Impact in the feed until we do some like bonusy stuff, which might show up there.
Yeah.
Should we just do like a thanks everyone for joining us?
Yeah,
like live stream aside, obviously we've got 22 more hours to go through here, and already I'm starting to feel it, which is a bad sign. But like honestly, when we started to do this show, we joined Duff Media about Arc 3 or 4.
I was towards the end of Arc 2, I think.
Yeah.
But even then, I kind of thought,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
But it's honestly been such a important experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of bonkers.
Matt and Scott have often joked about how they saw what our schedule plan was and said, well, they won't
last.
And the truth is, we wouldn't have if they hadn't been kind enough to bring us into Doof, and then if the Doof community hadn't backed us like it did.
Let's do a bit of goss. Should we do a bit of goss? Because my goss, and I know your face is showing me like...
I have no idea where you're going with this.
No, the goss is, when we started Deep Impact, I mean, we took a format that we knew was already kind of successful, and we were thinking to ourselves, like, this is a fun thing to do, and if we like it, we'll see if we can convince Scott and Matt to let us join the network, right? That was always on the cards. And
we
honestly,
wanted to do some kind of team up. I think our dream back then was a crossover or something, or just getting one of them to guest.
Yeah, but we've gotten to this point of being on the network, and honestly, being on the network has changed what this show is so much.
Oh, absolutely.
It's made it so much more of an experience for the two of us, I think. Because before it was just the two of us kind of podcasting into a void, and having the Discord and all this stuff, it's like...
Yeah, Media MD was really just a hobby, and then All Packed Up, especially when we got picked up by Doof, really turned into, oh wow, this is like a thing now. Yeah.
I got some bad news, Elliot. Drunk Peter says, $2 donation. Love you guys and your show. Really helped me appreciate Pact more. Akubuddha has said, Orny is too bad. Oh, pass me the drink. I said it. I'm so sorry. Oh, thank you, Buddha. But also, what is this? This is water and gin.
It's half over water and gin.
So we got a $10 donation from Vale as well. I'm going to just use that excuse to add a bit more to this.
Yes, okay.
Something disgusting.
No, we will do some more. I think we might be hitting this cognitive dissonance where for the Americans it's nighttime, so they're encouraging us to drink, not realizing it's like 2 in the afternoon here, and people are going to think we have a problem.
I mean, it's Australia. It's I guess that's where we're going to end this final episode on us starting to get drunk into this 22-hour live stream.
Yeah. So we're going to duck out for a minute because we've got to connect with Scott and Matt.
Yeah.
As we get set up for our.
It's Pact Fates.
Yeah, it's our RPG.
I've had too much alcohol and I've still got more to
do. Yeah. So we really didn't get into our
a whiskey and gin. I'm just going to put it out there. Not a good cocktail. Sorry, whiskey, gin, and water.
Right. Yeah. That's not too surprising, really.
It's not a good cocktail.
But yeah, okay. We'll see everyone later. Thanks for joining us.
Again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking out the show. These lives, if you're listening to the podcast on the feed. These live stream bits are probably going to go on YouTube at some point, so you can check out the Duff Media YouTube there. Check out duffmedia.com, check out patreon.com/duffmedia, and of course, thank you to the big man himself, Wildbo. Check out patreon.com/Wildbo, because he made the show possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we talk about how it wouldn't have existed without Matt and Scott as it did. Obviously, it wouldn't have existed without Wildbo,
of course. Story. I mean, what would it have looked like without Wildbo? It's a weird question, isn't it?
The 24 hours would have been a lot emptier, I think.
What would the 24-hour live stream be? Just a black screen. Anyway.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And we'll see you in the next thing.
Yes, we'll see you in a bit.